Tunisia is eyeing increased grain production to lower imports and boost self-sufficiency. That should also ideally counter a repeat of a bread shortage that has worsened over the last few weeks. Authorities have unveiled a new strategy that aims to cultivate up to 1.2 million hectares by 2035. Here's CGTN's Adin Chouachi with the details from Tunis.
The Tunisian Union of Agriculture and Fisheries is one of the main partners of the government in implementing the new grain production strategy. Experts believe the target of 1.2 million hectares of cultivated lands is achievable, but the productivity of the country's agricultural lands is below expectations.
Each hectare produces around 15 to 16 quintals of grain. We need to increase its productivity to 27 or 30 quintals per hectare to cultivate the 1.2 million hectares of agricultural land. We have to reach the target set by the Tunisian state and achieve self-sufficiency in grain production. This is an ambitious project, but there are serious challenges.
Mokhtar Bahrini is a grain farmer in the agricultural governorate of Beja in the northwest of Tunisia. The grain grower says crop rotation is essential for preserving the fertility of the soil and improving the coverage rate to reach a minimum of 8 million quintals in the next decade.
Cultivating 1.2 million hectares of grain requires the cultivation at the same time of 1.2 million hectares of other crops to guarantee the sustainability, fertility and productivity of the soil. Crop rotation is an efficient system to ensure a healthy and successful harvest by not planting the same crops in the same place each season and year.
The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations says water scarcity is expected to intensify as a result of climate change. It is predicted to bring about increased temperatures across the world. Tunisian farmers have warned that climate change poses serious threats to the country's agriculture and food security.
Rare precipitation and prolonged periods of droughts have reduced crop productivity in Tunisia. We cannot predict all the negative effects of climate change on grain production until 2035. Tunisia needs to implement a water management strategy in parallel with the grain production strategy.
According to the National Observatory of Agriculture, wheat, including soft wheat for bread and durum wheat, accounted for 58% of Tunisia's grain imports until the end of July 2023. The government has allocated $450 million to import wheat amid frequent cases of bread shortage. Tunisia spent a total of $770 million on grain purchases in the first 7 months of the year. The North African country is aiming to reduce imports and boost domestic grain production in order to achieve self-sufficiency and guarantee food security for the population. Adin Chouachi, CGTN, Tunis.
South Africa is going through its worst energy crisis on record. The mining industry, therefore, has little choice but to resort to as much renewable energy as they can get their hands on. Since the lifting of embedded generation targets some 2 years ago, several mining companies are now investing in their own generation plants, as CGTN's Ian Kenywa now tells us.
Rising electricity costs and supply constraints are cutting deep into the mining industry's bottom line and delaying long-term investment. On the plus side, the crisis has accelerated efforts to clean up the sector.
We're doing the renewable basically to reduce the carbon energy or reliance on energy that's from carbon sources. And number two, we're doing it mainly for prices. If you remember, our prices in South Africa have increased, I think, almost tenfold from 2007. So our members then decided that they're going to build.
A surge of investments in wind, solar and batteries could see supply strengthen over the next few years. Mining giant Anglo-American alone has big ambitions to add 9 gigawatts of supply.
We've been building solar plants and it's geographically spread across South Africa depending on where our operations are. And we supplement that with what we call wheeled energy. That means building plants that are not located at our operations and wheeling in the power to our sites.
Seriti Resources is laying down green shoots in the heart of South Africa's coal mining industry.
The electricity we use at the mines will effectively come from a green source, as in wind. That helps us. Two, it will help us sell energy to other customers who will do the same thing. Thirdly, it will probably compensate, it will add on to what the grid requires, because the grid will require some of those megawatts to come into the system.
Mpumalanga province's first and South Africa's largest wind farm is going into construction and could soon be contributing to the grid.
We are going to build those wind turbines, and we're planning to produce 900 megawatts, of which 155 as a start will be taken by CGTN itself. So our investment into what we call renewables or green energy starts with that.
Access to cheap and reliable electricity is key for operations and keeping miners safe underground. Ian Kinyua, CGTN.